Well, hello everybody, and welcome to yet another episode of Market Talk, where we do indeed talk about markets. So, in today's episode, the market we're going to be talking about is indeed the car industry or the car market, and basically, specifically, we're going to be looking at the Australian car market and the tax they've put on their luxury cars, because basically what they do in Australia, and they're actually going to be getting rid of this, by the way, which is what we're going to be talking about, but basically, at the moment, they have got a what they call a luxury car tax, or an LCT. And basically what that means is that when you buy a luxury car, which usually ends out to be like a car that's over about $90,000, and we're going to be looking at those stats soon, but basically if you buy a luxury car, what the Australian government will do is put a 33% tax on that car. It usually ends out to be about 33% anyway, but yeah, so basically they put a tax on your car, and you may think it's unfair. I personally think it's a bit unfair, and we're going to be looking into my opinions a bit later in this episode, because it's not really a smart thing to be doing at all. This tax was introduced all the way back in July 2000, the year 2000, under the Howard government, and still around, but thank God it is now going away, because I just feel like these luxury car taxes really don't give you an incentive to become wealthy at all. Like they're really just deterring the whole idea of just, trying to earn money and trying to become like a successful person, Just, it doesn't make sense, but we're going to be looking into my opinions a bit later, and without further ado, let's just go and just look into a bit more about what exactly a luxury car tax is.
Welcome to the world of Market Talk. Episodes are available on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Here we are on the Australian government website, and we're just going to be looking into how exactly a luxury car tax works. And pretty much what it is it's basically just imposed at the rate of 33% on the amount above the luxury car threshold, basically. So pretty much all it is it's just 33% on the total amount of the value of the car, really. And just to look at what the actual luxury car threshold is, pretty much at the moment for fuel-efficient vehicles, it's $91,387, and so pretty much if you buy a car that's over $91,000, you're going to receive a 33% tax on the total value of that car. But the thing about the luxury car tax is you don't directly get the tax on your car like as an individual. Basically what happens is it's the importers that really have to pay the tax. So that's basically like the car dealerships and stuff. So when they import luxury cars that are over the value of $91,000 for fuel efficient vehicles, or $80,000 for non-fuel efficient vehicles, basically the importers have to pay the 33% tax on the vehicle. So it's not actually directly the consumers that pay the tax, but you know what happens when the dealers get a 33% tax on imports? They just pass it on to the consumers. So basically, the consumers that are buying these luxury vehicles are the ones that are paying the price. The 33% doesn't just go to nowhere. Like, the dealers don't just get that 33% out of thin air sort of thing. Like, someone has to be paying that. So, of course, it's the consumers that have to be paying 33% more. But yeah, so as you can see from this chart, for you that are watching the video here, the threshold has basically just risen quite a lot over the past 10 or so years. Back in 2012 to 2013, it was $75,000, but now it's risen all the way up to $91,000. And $59,000 for the non-fuel efficient vehicles for 2012. So it has risen quite a lot, obviously. But like I say, this was introduced all the way back in 2000, and it's still around, but luckily it is about to go away. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I've just pretty much explained everything there is to know in a basic sort of way. But basically, all you really need to know is that cars in Australia are a lot more cheaper, or a lot more expensive, I should say, than they are in New Zealand. Which is surprising because a lot of people, as you guys know, that do live in New Zealand, a lot of New Zealanders are currently moving to Australia because of the insane cost of living in New Zealand. But the thing is, a lot of people that I've talked to that live in Australia, that either just were born in Australia and are on vacation in New Zealand, or if they lived in New Zealand and they moved to Australia or anything like that, basically what the Australians are saying is that life in New Zealand actually appears to be a lot cheaper than in Australia, which is actually a really weird surprise because the whole reason so many people are moving from New Zealand to Australia is because the stats are supposed to be saying that life in Australia is cheaper than New Zealand. The cost of living is way cheaper, apparently. But from what I've heard from just, people that have moved to Australia or vice versa, is that New Zealand is actually quite a lot cheaper than in Australia because basically my grand uncle, I guess you could say, he lives in Australia. He used to live in New Zealand, but now he lives in Australia, and he came back to New Zealand just for a sort of a holiday sort of thing. But I was talking to him, and he was just so surprised when he went into a supermarket at just how cheap everything was in comparison to Australia. Like, he was literally just going on about, like, he just couldn't believe just how cheap everything was at Countdown or New World or wherever he went. So that was just so surprising to me because, like I say, the whole reason so many people are just fleeing New Zealand is because the cost of living in Australia is supposedly meant to be cheaper, but oh no, apparently it's the opposite. So, but yeah, sorry guys, I kind of just went on a bit of a tangent there, but I kind of just wanted to briefly talk about that because it is just it's one of those weird things. It's like the media, the news is going on about how Australia is so much cheaper and how all these Kiwis are fleeing to Australia, but as it turns out, it's actually the opposite. The cost of living is way cheaper in New Zealand. So I just randomly thought of that there, but it basically just goes to show about this whole luxury car tax thing here. Basically, even luxury cars are cheaper in New Zealand, and we're actually going to be looking at a few examples of these luxury car price comparisons a bit later in this episode, but yeah, I kind of just wanted to briefly mention that, but I think I've basically covered what the LCT is and how it works. But yeah, so this luxury car tax is going away, which is a very good thing. One of the most controversial taxes the Australian government has ever enacted is the luxury car tax. And theoretically, it's designed to raise more revenue to pay for road infrastructure funding by adding an additional tax on new vehicles the government deems as luxurious, which is over that $91,000 threshold there. And I will say this LCT definitely did bring a lot of revenue for the Australian government, over $1 billion annually, which is a lot of money that they will be missing out on shortly. But the thing about it is that it's not actually that relevant anymore, because basically the whole reason that they introduced this tax back in 2000 is because it was meant to protect the local car manufacturing industry. Because basically Australia used to be a very big car manufacturer back in the day. Like, they used to produce obviously Holdens, Ford, Toyota. Because the thing about this tax is that it's only imposed on imported luxury vehicles, not vehicles that are actually produced in their own country, and they don't even have any vehicles being manufactured in Australia now anyway. So it's literally not even relevant anymore, because the whole thing about it was they wanted to protect their own manufacturing industry by, they wanted to keep up their sales and stop Australians from buying luxury vehicles from other countries so that they can, keep the same revenue on their own manufacturing industry. But now Australia just does not produce any luxury cars, so there's really no point in even keeping it because there's just no competition anymore at all. So it's a kind of a pointless tax at the moment, and I get that it does give revenue to the government and all that, but it definitely doesn't have as much of a use as it did back in 2000. So it just goes to show the purpose of this tax isn't actually quite what you think it is. They're not doing this tax just to be greedy and to take from the rich and that kind of thing. The main reason it was introduced is just to, mitigate their problems they were having with car manufacturers leaving Australia and all that, because they're just not getting the profits that they are wanting to get by producing in Australia. So they just wanted more people to buy cars that were actually manufactured in their own country rather than importing. So this did seem like a good way of mitigating that at the time to, keep holding in Australia and that kind of thing. But eventually all the manufacturers just left, and the tax is still around to this day, and it's just really not as needed as it used to be. So yeah, this tax is about to be scrapped, which is a good thing because there's no more local manufacturing. The last factories in Australia were closed back in 2017. So that's part of the reason why they're getting rid of this tax. But the other reason is obviously just because of the backlash of the community. Because obviously, if they've got this excuse about how they wanted to keep these car manufacturers in Australia and that kind of thing, and then they just get the manufacturers just leave Australia and then they keep the tax and all that. Obviously, there is going to be some backlash because it's like they're just stealing from the public and all that kind of thing. So there has been a bit of backlash in recent years. People just really don't like tax in general. So the government is doing what the society wants and that kind of thing. There is also some backlash from luxury car automakers and importers. But the final key reason why they're doing this is because of the global trade pressures. Obviously, as we know, there has been some pretty weird stuff going on with the global economy with Trump and his tariffs and all that. So that does contribute to it. But mainly, there is some free trade agreements going on between Australia and and Europe, basically the European Union, because as we know, most luxury cars do come from Europe. Australia and Europe are currently in the midst of a free trade agreement, so that does contribute a lot to the reason why they have to get rid of this tax here. They don't want any taxes on their imported cars. And there is also a minor sort of shift towards electrical vehicles in Australia. So the luxury car tax is seen as a discouraging sort of uptake towards electric vehicles, sort of. So that is sort of a small reason. There's just a lot of reasons, really. As we know, Australia just recently went through a election a couple weeks ago, really. And basically what Albanese was promising, Anthony Albanese, the leader of the Labour Party and the previous and current Prime Minister, pretty much what he was promising was that he would just get rid of this luxury car tax if he was to be re-elected. And obviously he did win the election once again against Peter Dutton or whatever his name was. I don't even know much about that guy. I wasn't really following the whole election too avidly because we all really knew who was going to win anyway. So yeah, Albanese won again, so I'm going to assume that he is going to follow his promises, hopefully, but you never know with these politicians. Maybe nothing will even happen, but as far as I know, not much progress has been made on getting rid of this luxury car tax yet, but he did promise it in his campaign, so hopefully he does go through with his promises and get rid of this tax here, because nobody wants this really, apart from the government itself. So that's kind of just the main reason as to why they're getting rid of this tax here, is because of this election and these promises here. And in terms of the response to getting rid of this luxury car tax here, the car industry is definitely expressing their relief at the moment, because this may result in some potential competitive pricing, because the current pricing of Australian luxury cars at the moment is just not very competitive at all. Way more expensive than it is in New Zealand. And but the other thing is, consumers are currently sort of a bit wary about whether the prices will actually drop, even if the luxury car tax is scrapped. because dealers may just continue to be greedy and not even like reduce their prices at all for their luxury cars and just absorb the savings. That is always a possibility because car dealerships, man, you know how they are. They don't exactly have the best reputation in terms of being greedy and all that. So they might not even lower the price at all. The prices might just stay exactly the same, even with the no taxes. So that could always happen. So let's just hope that the car dealerships and all that will try to at least be like competitive and all that. And yeah, it will also like boost imports for cars, which will be good. There will be a lot more new cars as opposed to like, trading old cars and that kind of thing. The only downside for consumers that I can think of is obviously because the government got like over $1 billion annually from this tax towards like infrastructure and that kind of thing, is where is the government going to get that additional $1 billion towards their budget, because that's really part of their whole budget nowadays, just this luxury car tax revenue. So if they're not getting $1 billion annually from that, where are they going to get it from? So they're probably just going to be raising the taxes just in general a bit later, like once this tax is gotten rid of. So that money has to come from somewhere. So taxes most likely will rise, just the pay as you earn sort of tax system, and that additional tax will most likely be received from the wealthy anyway. They're probably just going to be taxing the rich even more because they got rid of this tax. So it kind of just doesn't make a lot of difference at all, really. It just sort of evens out the playing field a bit more, and it doesn't exactly benefit those that don't really buy luxury cars, because there are some rich people out there that just they're humble and just don't even really need luxury cars. So it doesn't really benefit them at all. But what I kind of want to do now is just compare these Australian prices for luxury cars with New Zealand prices, because here in New Zealand we don't really have any sort of luxury car tax because we didn't really have that much of a manufacturing industry for vehicles in New Zealand, so we haven't really had much of a need for a luxury car tax. Most countries don't really have that kind of tax thing, so it's good that Australia are getting rid of it finally. But basically, if we just go ahead and look at the Toyota website here, we're going to be looking at the Land Cruiser 300. So for those of you video viewers here, as you can see, the price for this Land Cruiser 300 VX in New Zealand on the New Zealand Toyota website is $134,990. That's the recommended retail price for this Land Cruiser. So obviously this is classified as a luxury vehicle. This is a highly expensive vehicle. I don't know why you would pay so much money just for a Land Cruiser. I mean, come on, really? $134,000 that's just ridiculous. But yeah, so that is the price in New Zealand. But if we go ahead and look at the price for a Land Cruiser 300 VX on the Toyota Australian website here, as you can see, it is $131,831. So yeah, as you can see, that while that may seem a little bit cheaper than New Zealand retail price, if we just go ahead and do a quick little price conversion here, does end up to be a lot more expensive in Australia, because basically here we've just converted $131,831 Australian dollar to New Zealand dollar, and it ends up to be $142,967 New Zealand dollars. So as you can see, that is a lot more expensive than this $134,000 that you'll be paying in New Zealand for the exact same car. But it just goes to show, with this luxury car tax at the moment, cars in Australia are just a lot more expensive in general than most countries. Everything in Australia at the moment is just really expensive, including cars. Like, I mean, groceries, taxes, electricity, insurance, just everything really. And even in New Zealand, everything is really expensive at the moment. Like, we're definitely feeling the pressure just as much as Australia, but I'm still just very surprised to hear that Australia are actually doing worse off than New Zealand. Um, because I'm really just glad that in New Zealand we actually have a government that's competent and actually knows what they're doing with the economy. Because if we didn't have a government that was actually, competent and knew how to run an economy and that kind of thing, like the previous government, then, we would be in a lot worse of a situation than we are now. Because there's really just some things that the government in New Zealand can't control at all. Like, it's all the current government with Luxon and all that have really just had a hard time, and it's not even their fault. It's just it's really just the global economy, like with COVID and now Trump's tariffs and the wars that are going on, and there's really just a lot that's not to the New Zealand government's favour at the moment. But I feel like they could have been doing a lot worse. Like, I think they have done in general quite a good job with just maintaining a good economy, and things are getting better. I don't know what the situation is like in Australia. I think it's going, okay, but I'm just glad that we actually have a government that actually know what they're doing with the economy, and, progress is actually being made. Because a lot of people just like to whine about how expensive things are, but things could be a lot worse. So just think about the positives, guys. That's all I can say. But while I'm on that note, if we just go ahead and look at the cheapest possible car you can buy brand new in New Zealand, I mean, this is actually pretty cheap here. $25,000 is the price of this Suzuki Swift here, brand new. And, that's actually fairly cheap. It's not like, $15,000 or whatever, but, 25,000, that's pretty good for a brand new car. And even brand new cars these days are pretty good. I mean, if you look at can we see the inside of it here? We can't see the inside, but, it's most likely got like a backing camera and Bluetooth, and, it's a solid car. It's not like an old dud, like an old, 2009 Toyota Corolla that just has radio, like it's got all the modern technology, and this is a good car. I'll probably buy this if I had, like, the money or whatever. And Suzuki Swifts, I know, have not exactly had the reputation for being too sporty. Like, the old model Suzuki Swifts were a lot less sporty and a lot more sort of grandma-like than the new models. Like, these new models actually look pretty decent in comparison to, like, the old Suzuki Swifts. Like, pretty much with those old Suzuki Swifts, every time you look through the window, it's pretty much it's probably about a 80% chance that it's just going to be an old lady driving. Like, they're always driving real slow, and, but that's the old Suzuki Swifts. These new ones actually look, pretty decent. I know they're not exactly sports car status, but, I wouldn't be, like, humiliated to be driving around in this car. So, this is a pretty good option for only $25,000, really. So yeah, I kind of just wanted to show you guys that things aren't too bad in New Zealand. Like, you can still afford to live. Like, it's not like people are out on the street and they can't afford rent and all that. Well, not most people anyway. So most people still can afford to live comfortably, and things are getting better. And I know the economy has not definitely been good at the moment, and we, the consumers, are the ones that actually notice how the economy is going. Because you can look at all the stats about the economy you want, but at the end of the day, we, the consumers, are the ones that are out buying groceries and petrol and all that, and we can actually see with our own eyes just how expensive things are getting. But inflation is going down, and things are definitely getting better, and you can see the stats for that. You can believe it, don't believe it, do what you want, but things are getting better at the end of the day. So that's a bit of a positive note for you guys. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that just wraps up everything I wanted to say about this luxury car tax here. But in terms of my personal opinions about this tax, I'm really just not a big fan of it, because it takes away the incentive of actually becoming successful and, earning money. It really gives you with this tax, it just gives you no point in wanting to, earn money and actually do good for society, really. Because some people earn a lot more than others, I get that, but you shouldn't be ashamed about the fact that you earn a lot of money. Some people just earn a lot of money, and that's fine. I'm okay with that. Um, and a good little story that I found just on Facebook here, I'll just read it out to you. It's about this man that bought a luxury car, and he got this criticism from this guy on the street, and I'll just read it to you here. A guy looked at my Corvette the other day and said, "I wonder how many people could have been fed for the money that sports car cost." I replied, "I'm not sure. It fed a lot of families in Bowling Green, Kentucky who built it. It fed the people who made the tyres. It fed the people who made the components that went into it. It fed the people in the copper mine who mined the copper for the wires. It fed people in a Caterpillar who made the trucks that haul the copper ore. It fed the trucking people who hauled it from the plant to the dealer, and fed the people working at the dealership and their families. But I have to admit, I guess I really don't know how many people it fed. That is the difference between capitalism and the welfare mentality. When you buy something, you put money in people's pockets and give them dignity for their skills. When you give someone something for nothing, you rob them of their dignity and self-worth. Capitalism is freely giving your money in exchange for something of value. Socialism is having the government take your money against your will and give it to someone else for doing absolutely nothing. So yeah, this is just a really, really good story that I found very, very true, because basically a lot of people can whine about how these people are buying all these luxury cars, and you could argue that this luxury car tax is a good thing because, why would this millionaire care about a couple $1,000 taken off their, price of their luxury car and all that? So you could argue that, and you could just hate rich people just for being rich. But at the end of the day, when you buy a luxury car, the argument that they could have instead given all that money to charity is just a very stupid thing, really, because when you buy a luxury car, just think about how many people you're actually feeding when you buy that car. How many people are you actually technically paying when you buy that car? Like it says, you're paying the dealership people, you're buying the people who built it, the people who made the tires, the people who made the components, the people who mined the copper for the wires and transported that copper. There's got to be tens of thousands of people that ultimately you are paying by buying this car. So you've really just got to look at the bigger picture. It's not all just about charity, and obviously charity is a good thing. Obviously, I do believe in charity to an extent. If I was a millionaire, of course I'll be giving to charity. But the argument that you just should not be buying luxury cars is just stupid, because if you stop buying luxury cars, who are the ones that are going to be losing their jobs and then becoming poor? These people are just going to end out on the street because nobody buys luxury cars, and their specialty in, building luxury cars is just going to be no longer needed. So, there's really just a bigger picture going on here. If everybody just despised rich people and despised it when people bought luxury cars and flash houses and went traveling and that kind of thing, then nobody would want to be wealthy, and, the whole world would just not be as productive as it is now. Mark Zuckerberg wouldn't exist, and there'll be no Facebook. Elon Musk wouldn't exist, and there'll be no, or not as many electric cars and that kind of thing, and we wouldn't be, getting to Mars, and there'd just be no point in being rich, and, no one would even want to be working that hard, and it just wouldn't be a good society, really. Society would just absolutely crumble apart if everyone just had that mindset of just hating people who owned, flash cars and that kind of thing. And that's why I just don't like this tax. At the end of the day, some people are just richer than others, and they can, afford nice things, and I don't have a problem with that. It's just fine. It's just how the world goes around. You know what they say, money makes the world go round. So you've just got to work harder at the end of the day, and then just, save up and then buy the things you like, and that's fine, really. So yeah, that's just my personal opinion on this tax. Obviously, it might have been taken out of proportion a little bit, but that's the wider picture of things, really. So I'm glad that there are, getting rid of this tax here. In terms of when they're actually going to be getting rid of this tax, I don't know yet. Nobody knows. But it should be, scrapped within like a year or so, hopefully. But yeah, so just let me know, guys. What do you think about the end of the luxury car tax? Can you think of any positive sides to this tax? I'm open to your opinions. Just let me know in the comments down below. I'm not going to try to argue with you. I'm not that kind of guy, but just let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments. And are you more likely to consider a luxury or electric car now that the LCT is gone? Just let me know down in the comments. And without further ado, that can basically wrap up our video for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.
Market Talk is a production of TeamTMS. For more episodes of Market Talk just like this one, visit us on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening.